Earlier this month, we took you through some of the preparations for deployment to Afghanistan by members of the Air National Guard's 130th Airlift Wing in Charleston. We did this through Assistant News Director Anna Sale, who traveled to Afghanistan with the 130th. She's back now and joins us to tell us what she learned in Afghanistan. Anna Sale, welcome. Glad you're back.
Hi, Beth. Thank you.
So the last time we saw you was a piece that we aired about your preparations to go to Afghanistan, and we saw you give a nice wave to the camera, and then you marched off onto the C-130, and the last shot we had was the 130 taking off from Yeager Airport and into the sky. What happened then?
Well, it's funny because I've been to those deployments before and watched that plane take off, and from the ground you're thinking, there are all those West Virginians heading off to war. And when you're on the plane itself, you go on a 5-hour flight and you land in Newfoundland, not a war zone. Mm-hmm. So it immediately felt like a different experience than what I expected. It felt like almost like camp. We're all going on this trip. Everyone was kind of loose. They knew they were not going to be able to go out to dinner and have fun together while they were in Afghanistan. So for the first couple of nights, everyone was just hanging out and having fun together. And then we got to Turkey, which was the last stop before Afghanistan, and we were there for 3 nights. The plane needed some maintenance. We were there a little longer than we expected. And the longer I was in Turkey, I sort of felt the mood kind of change a little bit. And then it all sort of was very clear to me what the project was when we were on the runway heading out of Turkey that in a dark morning, and they started issuing the weapons to everyone, of course not the reporters, but all of the service members, getting their pistols and wearing their pistols on their sides. And then it was the mood immediately sort
Definitely
of shifted.
Different,
yes.
Flying into the war zone of Afghanistan. Yes. So you got to Bagram Air Base. Mm-hmm. Well, what's the first thing you did? You get out of the plane, and what do you see? What happened?
Oh, it was so nice. We land on Bagram Airfield, which is surrounded by these huge Afghan mountains. So you fly in at a very steep angle, and then you land, and you're on this flat runway, and I just immediately looked around, and you see these mountain peaks surrounding you in a bowl. And what was really nice was all these friendly faces, West Virginians who were already in Afghanistan, all met the plane and greeted everyone.
What do they do there at the Bagram Air Base?
When I was there, it was when one crew of Guard members were preparing to leave, and the crew that I had come over with were preparing to take over. So they were very busy. I mean, 16-hour days. And everyone, there was little downtime at all. And since I've gotten back, since the transition has happened, I've heard it sort of mellowed out a little bit.
You went on one mission,
mm-hmm.
on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that.
We went to one area, a landing zone, which was near the Pakistani border, to take some people, about 15 people, some military personnel, some contractors, and then we had a load of some ammunition and rockets in the back of the plane. So we basically, when you do these landing zones, you land on a runway that's not what you're used to. It's more kind of gravelly, and they're shorter, and that's why the C-130 planes are useful, because they can land in those types of settings. And you land, and you unload the cargo, you unload the people, and you reload the people, and you reload the cargo, and you take off again.
How long does that process take? How long were you on the ground?
We were on the ground only about 15 minutes, and we got off the plane. It's fast, and it's, you take a look around, you get off, and they're doing their job, and they want to take off again, because these are typically more dangerous areas. So this was the time where we had to wear our bulletproof vests, we wore our helmets. So I didn't really want to be on the ground much longer than I needed to be.
What was it like leaving? The time has come, and you've spent some time there. But what's it like leaving there?
We were there so quickly, but we went home with a group who'd been there for their full deployment, their 45 days. So it was interesting watching them, because on the way over I watched the Guard members sort of steel themselves and talk about their mission and how they were had to be just focused on the mission, not at home. And as we were going home, that sort of faded a little bit, and Guard members, as we got closer to West Virginia, started talking more about their families, what they were looking forward to, what they'd missed. I talked to one that when we're in Newfoundland on the way home, the day before, as we're taking off for West Virginia, I talked to several Guard members just about how they were feeling, and they were sort of at their most vulnerable, I think. You'll see this interview. This is Tech Sergeant Adam Harper, and he has a 3-year-old son, and he talks about how that has changed what deployments are like for him.
It's tough adjusting to, I can't do trips like I used to go, and I knew my wife could take care of herself, and and sometimes she probably would enjoy the break from me, and now it's hard leaving my son.
Mm-hmm.
It's changed my perspective quite a bit.
Have you been deployed since he was born?
I went to, yes, I went to the desert in '05. He was a little over a year old, and that morning was the toughest because I think I had to be at the airport at 3, and he was still asleep, and I didn't want to wake him up. And it was everything I could do to leave the house. And I'm not usually that way. You don't have a problem with doing my job. But that was one time that I had to make myself leave, and it was tough. But, short trips like we normally do, a couple days, a week, that's not as big a deal, but the long ones, because you realize when you do that, they change so much. And it helps getting pictures, but it's not the same as being there. So.
When you got home and you landed in West Virginia, what was that like?
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, I've only been gone 2 weeks, but you get anxious. Everyone's so anxious to get home. So we're flying down, and we look out. One of the first things I noticed on the ground is everyone pointed out the window when we flew over the WVU Coliseum and the football field. So we knew we were getting home, getting close. And then as we're flying over, where you can watch Trace I-79, you know exactly where you are. And as we got closer, they turned on country roads over the C-130 speakers, and it was so neat to watch everybody. Just this real sense of excitement about being home. And then we land, and I'm used to being on the other side when people come home and everyone's watching and seeing when they're going to get off the plane. Inside the plane, everyone's looking out the windows, trying to find their family members, see their family members, and just so excited to get off that plane and get back with their families.
What an experience. Thank you for going, and thank you for sharing it all with us. Very interesting, Anna Sale. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Beth.
You can go to our website to see an extended interview with Tech Sergeant Adam Harper, whom you just saw in this segment.